Can you hear me from this far away? Okay. Want to talk about a little bit about our business. Some of these facts may or may not be true. I think they're true. But I think we are the biggest business out of BYU since WordPerfect. And give us a couple more years and we'll be bigger than WordPerfect ever was. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that. Also, I think the largest business started by students out of BYU. Since the other technology companies kind of sold off or moved their headquarters, Novell, we're the largest tech company in the state, which is cool for us, but also I think is a little sad that $300 million company is the largest company in the state in technology. So hopefully there's a lot more companies that are up and coming that we can change that, where number 1 through 10 are all bigger than $1 billion. That's where we need to get. So we've got a good kind of thriving upstart community, but we don't have the really big businesses that can pull in the VPs that have tons of experience that can go from company to company to company. And that's one thing that we'll be talking about next month about, when you think about eBusiness, or was that later on this month? But anyway, when the eBusiness day is, redeployability is a big issue. Being able to find VPs that you can attract from Oracle, have them come in and feel like if I move to Utah and the company sells or I get fired or I don't like it anymore, is there somewhere else I can go if I happen to pull my kids out of their high school? And that's a real issue in attracting and retaining talent and trying to get them to move to the state. And then we think we're the largest customer of Google. I know we're in the top 3. There's 3 different people that are making the claim, but until I see the specifics behind their data, we think that we are the largest customer. We spend about $600 million in advertising on Google. We are here in Utah, but we've got some unique characteristics about our business. Most of you know we're a public company. We're, as of last quarter, about a $320 million business, 1,200 employees. These first 2 slides are just so that the rest of what I say actually has some credibility behind it. We haven't been all lucky. In fact, when everything blew up in 2000, that's one of the things we said in the executive team. Well, they can't say we're only lucky now if we make it through this. And then here we are in the middle of another firestorm. But over 5,000 customers. We've got, like you look at the top media companies, we've got 95% of the top 20 media companies. We've got more of the top 500 internet retailers than anyone else does. And I think one kind of staggering statistic is we manage about 1 trillion transactions per quarter. And I'm trying to find out what system anywhere manages more than 1 trillion transactions per quarter, whether it's, because we do more than our phone calls. We have more transactions in the largest websites that are out there by several fold. And it's just this giant system that our technologists have created, and it's pretty cool. And during spikes, we're over 250,000 transactions per second, which is really mind-boggling to think about. That's 250,000 clicks per second, where customers are clicking where users are clicking on our customers' websites and doing things. So it's a pretty staggering system. And I want to take it back to when we only had 1 server, and then talk about creating. And John, we have till 10 till, right? And then we'll do questions along the way and stuff. But take it back to when we only had 1 server, and we've been doing this since 1996, but we kind of floundered around for 5 years. In the business we're in today, it did $1 million in 2001, so that's only 7 years ago, and then it's kind of been flying since then. But taking it back to when we only had 1 server, then I want to talk about businesses that I think people in here could go and start, what it's like to start an e-business. And why did we start it? Why not? I was in school and I was kind of bored. 7 different majors. I was in Young Ambassadors, which is a little embarrassing. But I met my wife there. She's in the back somewhere, so it was well worth it. The director told me he chose me because I was one of the normal guys, which I took as a compliment, actually. I had lots of different interests. I liked acting. I was pre-med. I was pre-dental. I got in the accounting program. did that Warren study for Warren case for like 2 weeks. I was like, yeah, this is dumb. I'm definitely not doing this. Because I was kind of buying hook, line, and sinker. We'll just get into the accounting programs, one of the best in the country, and you can do that for 3 years, and you can jump off to something else. I'm like, there's no way I'll last for 3 years in this program. So I was looking for lots of different things to do. We were fortunate that the web was just really getting kicked off in '95. Right, it was just starting. I mean, I still remember the couch that I was sitting on and the commercial that I saw the very first time that there was a commercial and it had a domain name in the commercial and it was for Toyota. It was Toyota.com. I'm like, no way! I was calling my friends. I'm like, it's coming, it's coming. So we were there at the beginning, and that was good because the great thing about being, about technology and being young is you can have as much experience in technology as any 50-year-old person that's got all this business experience. And that experience you have in a particular domain can help equal the playing field. So I'm sure there's lots of stuff in here that you guys have way more experience in than I do, and than anyone does. Social networking, social media. It took me I had to force myself to use Twitter like 10 times before I finally understood what it is. And I still think it's kind of stupid, but I understand that people use it. There's a lot of people that use it to talk about Omniture, and we were trying to figure out one time why were our calls that were coming in and our emails, why were we not getting as many? We had more customer, we were getting less. Why were the message boards getting less messages? And then we finally, fortunately, had some younger employees. They're like, we're blowing up on Twitter. I'm like, oh my gosh. So there's things that you guys have insight into that no one else has insight into. John, are you on Twitter? Are you? You posting with your phone and everything? No, nothing? So John can stand up here and talk to you guys about stuff, and you can be like, yeah, actually, John, you're wrong. This is what happens on Twitter. And that's pretty cool. And I remember the first, when I was in my ISIS 301, I think it's 201 now, 301 class that we had to take. And my co-founder of my company, my partner in starting these companies, he corrected my teacher 3 times the first day of class. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely got to be in that guy's group. It's just kind of, technology is this great equalizer. And I think that's really cool. And that's where your opportunities are. And one of the things that I typed in my notes when I was preparing for this is the average entrepreneur that I meet in Silicon Valley is smarter than the average entrepreneur in the state of Utah. A little controversial statement. And I'm generally extremely positive about Utah. Silicon Slopes, we're doing that because we want to help the state of Utah. But sometimes I think there's a little bit too much, I don't know if it's ignorance or if it's too gullible or if it's over exuberance. But one thing I think is really important for entrepreneurs in the state, you don't have to invent something that no one's ever done before. You don't have to go and fight against the grain on every idea that you come up with. You don't have to. You can pick what you're good at, pick what you know more than anyone else, and go and start a company around that. There's too many entrepreneurs that you meet that think that they're the best technologists in the world, or they found a guy at BYU that's the smartest guy that there is in a particular technology. Maybe. Maybe. There's probably 1 or 2 people at BYU that are students right now that truly are the best at what they do. Maybe. And I think it's really ignorant and to say that kind of stuff. I think what you have to do is find something that you are really good at, and then get into business there, and then figure out if you're the best over time. And if you're not a technologist, like I'm not a technologist, I don't like technology all that much. It's confusing to me. It takes me 10 times to figure out Twitter. I don't get it as quickly as other people do. But I recognize that about myself. And I find people that do get it. And I find the ones that I can rely on. And I think that's really important when you're starting these businesses. Figure out what you can be the best at and do that. I hope that doesn't come across too harshly. But I just think we need a dose of some realism here. And I think we need a dose of you can go and start anything. But just be realistic about what it is. You can start small and then let that expand into something else. You can start small and then let that expand into other businesses. I didn't start out doing what we're doing. You'll see, we changed our business like 5 different times before we finally figured out what we truly could be the best at. If you really know what that is, more power to you. Go after it. But if you don't, I think you really should search and look and try to figure out how to start an e-business that you can be successful at. And so I had a video that I was going to show you. I called someone on the way here, and I said, you're going to listen to that video real quick and tell me if there's anything that's inappropriate for a BYU audience. There were 2 things that were inappropriate, so we're not going to show the video. But I'm sure many of you have already seen it. It's just I'm not going to stand up here and endorse it and show it here at BYU. But Talladega Nights, right? How many people have seen Talladega Nights? Yeah, see. There's a scene in there about the cougar. Does anybody remember the cougar? Right? I mean, there's this cougar, and his dad makes him ride with the cougar. Like, you got to overcome your fear. It takes guts to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, you got to be smart, but it does take guts. It's scary. There's been 5 times to date, and I hope it stays at 5 times. But there's been 5 times to date where I've laid down on the floor, laid down on the carpet of my living room, and I wouldn't say cried, but I was at my wit's end. I had nothing else. I had no other ideas that I could come up with about how we could make payroll, about how we could figure out how to somehow come up with a partnership that would allow us to continue to go, to come up with another way to position ourselves for the company that was thinking about buying a portion of our business that would allow us to make payroll, a way to convince this customer that they should use us instead of our competitors. But 5 times. It is hard. You're going to reach those moments, and somehow you got to pull through those things. But that's what that video was about. And I think in terms of starting a business, I'm going to go in reverse. I'm going to do the advice first, and then I'm going to do the experiences that we had with Omniture. But in terms of the advice, so I was a little harsh there about overexuberance, and I'm definitely not free from guilt on that. I'm sure we had plenty of that. These are just kind of some lessons learned. But the kind of things that I think anybody can go and do, I think the number one thing that I always say, number one piece of advice that I'd say if you want to start a business is just do it. Stop talking about it. Stop going to class and thinking about it. Stop writing a business plan that your professors want you to write and put together and have it bound, and you put together all these financials. Stop talking about it. Just go and do it, because you don't need to go and invest $5,000 to go and start a little business. What are you an expert in? Go start blogging about it. Pick anything. If you're not an expert in something, but you like something, let's say that you like one of the ideas that I'm going to list later. I actually have a list of, I think, 10 or 12 things that I just kind of randomly wrote down real quick of businesses that I'd go and start if I were in your shoes right now. But let's say, who in here has iPhones? Show of hands. Okay, a couple of you. There's all kinds of apps. They're blowing up on the iPhone, right? Who's going to, and how do you figure out what to use? And are there sites out there that review these apps? And I know they're starting to pop up, but there's a great opportunity. Just sit on your iPhone all day and try out the different apps and write reviews about them. Guarantee you're going to get all kinds of traffic. Guarantee people are going to then come and search for apps. Then you can put up the Google ads, and you can start making money, and all of a sudden you're this app expert. And then you're going to find some other idea, and then you're going to say, what we can do is build apps for people, and then you're going to start building apps for people that want to put their apps on iPhone, and all of a sudden you got a business. You don't need to go and create the multi-million-dollar business to start with. Just get in the game. I think something else, and you can just pick something really generic and you can be successful by trying harder. That's what we did at the beginning. We just started making websites. We weren't experts. I didn't know anything about making websites. My dad was an airline pilot. He's a colonel in the Marines. I can tell you the 3 things that I could do at home to get my butt kicked by my dad. And that's something that I knew. But in terms of business, I didn't know anything. I knew what Chapter 11 was because I saw Continental Airlines file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy several times when I was in high school. That was about the extent of my business experience. And I didn't know what investment banking was until after I'd been running my business for 2 years. I didn't know who Microsoft was in 1995 when Windows 95 came out. You don't have to be like this expert. You just have to figure out how smart are you, how quickly do you get things, what kind of interpersonal skills do you have. Do you have some things to make up maybe for a lack of expertise in other areas? Just be realistic with yourself about what you're good at and what you're not good at. Find maybe one other guy or girl that can help you and be partners with you. I don't know why people sometimes like to start business with 5 different founders. That's crazy to me. Find one other person at most and go and figure things out. The best thing I think you do, though, is just go start something by yourself, start blogging about it, start figuring things out, and then figure out what kind of partner you need so you're partnering with the right people. But going to do some kind of consulting. I think it wouldn't be hard for you guys to do that. If you know social media, just go start consulting about social media, social networking. Find businesses, find anybody that's willing to pay you $50 an hour to go and consult with them on that to figure out if you like it. If you don't, quit, go do something else. Another thing you can do if you want to get involved or start an e-business is go join a small company. I think this is a great idea. These entrepreneurs that we know that are out there that come here and speak, a lot of them are starting businesses. A lot of them have businesses. They got 10 employees, they got 20 employees, they got 30 employees, and the vast majority of them still don't know what they're doing. I know we certainly did not know what we were doing when we had 20 or 30 employees. We were trying all kinds of different things. And the folks that were in those companies at that time, they've all gone out and started other businesses. A lot of them. There's been like 15, 20 companies that have been started out of Omniture that I know of. I'm sure there's plenty more. But that have started fairly successful businesses. Because they sit there and they watch the stupid decisions that I made, and they learn from those things. And they go out and like, I could do it. I've seen that guy. He's on the cover of a magazine, therefore he must be successful. So I can go, and he was an idiot, I thought, and I'm going to go out and do it. I mean, that's how I started my business. I came to these lectures. I listened to people talk. And I remember sitting in those chairs thinking, I'm definitely smarter than half the people that come to these things. The other half, probably smarter than me. But I'm definitely as smart as at least half these guys. And they're doing it. So what do they have that I don't have? If I've got the intelligence, I'm willing to work hard, then it's the risk profile. Well, I'm willing to throw caution to the wind. That sounds fun. It's interesting. I like the X factor. I want to be unpredictable. That's why I like the Russians. So we, I think that's something you go and do. Go get involved in a small company, and you will learn a lot, and you will identify an opportunity either in that business or another business, and you'll start to learn about how to be an entrepreneur in e-business without having to take all the risk yourself if you haven't identified something yet. All right, just a bunch of random ideas just to kind of say this is how easy it is. These are things that I think I could go and build a multi-million-dollar business in over the next 2 years. If I were in your shoes, with your skill sets, with your experiences, with your access to capital, I think I'd go start businesses. Mobile advertising company, right? You guys are sitting on mobile. Mobile's starting just now. The web was starting when I was when I was sitting in your seats. Mobile is starting right now. What are you doing with it? How much of an expert are you in it? I know I'm not an expert at it. I force my VPs to buy iPhones and the G phone so that they're sitting there and they're downloading applications so that they can try to be aware of what's going on. You guys have a massive advantage, right? So go and take advantage of that. And advertising, how is that space going to evolve? Just go and start figuring out mobile. There is a tremendous amount of opportunity in mobile. For example, when I go to Japan, I have some mission to Japan, and I love going over there, and we have a great business over there. And I'm sitting there, and whenever we go over there, I have our company in Japan. We bought 10 phones so that when people from Omniture go over there, they are forced to use the Japanese phone instead of bringing their phone over, going to the airport, getting a new SIM card because they're on a different network and sticking it in. And it's really fascinating because you're sitting there. First of all, you're watching TV, which, by the way, did you guys know they have digital TV now on your phones here in the U.S.? I was sitting in L.A. and some guy was sitting. My taxi driver was watching CNN on his. It was perfect clarity. I didn't know that we did that in the U.S. yet, but he was getting cable channels, and I don't know if it's just launched in some cities, but in certain cities. But in Japan, you do that, and you're watching a sumo match, and it's pretty cool. And then you go in, and you're with your buddy, and you're going down because you're hungry, and you go down to 7-Eleven, and you pick up some cookies and some milk, and the guy just walks out. You're like, what just happened here? And because he just kind of waved his phone at something, and he got charged. That was it. He was done. Like, the world is changing so fast. And then you go and you see a billboard in the train station, and there's a little UPC symbol. You take a picture of it with your phone, and your browser pops up on your phone, and here's the product. and you click buy, and it's sent to you because it knows who you are, it knows your address, it's got access to it, it has the ability to charge you because you already have a phone account that you pay for every month. And this isn't like something that's just going to show up in Wired magazine. This is happening today in Japan. It's crazy. It's going to happen in the U.S. Another data point. Our business in Japan, we have many, many customers that we get more traffic from their mobile websites than we do from their PC-based websites. From the websites you can access to the big screen. More traffic. So when you think about the opportunities here in the U.S., same thing's going to happen in the U.S. Why doesn't it happen? Because we don't have very good phones and we have really, really slow connections. But that is definitely changing, and it's going to change overnight. 2 years from now, entirely different story. So, huge opportunity. Salesforce.com. Sure, a lot of you are familiar with Salesforce.com. There's a whole new ecosystem that's being built around Salesforce.com. There's thousands of companies that are partners with Salesforce.com, and it's just a giant mess, and no one knows really what to do with it yet. There's tons of opportunities for consultants. You can go out and be an expert there. Web analytics consulting company. The number one question I get from my customers is, do you know anybody that we can hire? We come on campus and we do these web analytics consulting, competitions, and we do it for a lot of reasons. We started doing it because I want to help BYU. It's the one place I like to help. BYU helped me a lot, and we want to return the favors and give. I loved listening to, the retards coming up and talking in front of me. And I don't know if I fall into that category for some of you, but I love listening to them, and I love listening to the really smart guys. I'll never forget having a guy come to speak at BYU, and he's like, "We went public 2 months ago, and here's what we learned." I was just like, "Wow!" And I would so much rather listen to these people than listen to professors pontificate about something they haven't done. I love talking to professors that have done it, that have been there, done that, and they're sitting here showing us. That's why I like the entrepreneurship program. That's why I like the eBusiness program. Love it. And web analytics, the reason we do it, initially to help out, now we're doing it because we can't find people to help our customers. The number one question they ask is, can you find anybody that can help us? And we have consultants that have been working for us out of school for 2-3 years, and they're making $100,000. Because we have to pay them that, or our customer's going to come in and hire them. We have employees that sometimes get hired, they'll get an offer for $40,000-$50,000 more than what we're paying them. And I was like, we can't compete with that. Best of luck at Facebook. I hope you enjoyed the Bay Area. Your cost of living is going to go through the roof, but I can't argue with $40,000. So, good luck to you. But there's a huge opportunity there. Become an expert in web analytics. Start doing consulting for companies. Facebook consulting, Yelp consulting. I don't know how many people use Yelp. Not many people know about it. The big cities, that thing's blowing up. You want to figure out where to go eat, where to go and find, a place to find a tailor, where a place to go if you want to go tanning because you're white and your wife's making fun of you. There's all kinds of things. You go to Yelp and there's all these reviews. It's really cool. There's businesses around that. What are people doing? Mobile infrastructure. A service that explains stocks on the message boards. This is one I think is actually, for those of you that have financial background, we look in the message boards, the ones on Yahoo Finance. They're the most ludicrous example of the blind leading the blind astray. And it seems like there's a business there for someone to go in and really understand what a business does to the same level that the analyst from Deutsche Bank does, and then provide a service to companies by going out there and posting actually truthful information from a source that's reputable on these message boards. Seems like there's an opportunity there. Lead gen companies. There's all kinds of companies that pop. I met a guy yesterday in New York, and he's been in business for 3 years, and he's doing $50 million in business, and all he does is lead gen. And what that means is, you want to find someone that needs to get, if you want to go get a loan on a house, you go and you type into Google, mortgage, Utah, and there's all kind of results that come up on Google, and some of them are legit and some of them are not. And if you can create a compelling enough offer to get someone to come and click and fill out a form, and you provide some kind of value add, and then you go and you take that lead and the name and the address to 5 different mortgage companies, they'll pay you $200 a pop for it. It's like Lending Tree, but it's a little more personalized. And you can do that there's dozens and dozens of industries that need that don't have it because they're not big enough. But for a group of 10 people that just wanted to sit there and make a couple $100,000 a year, tons of opportunities for that kind of stuff. Local shopping company. This is something I was thinking about. I don't know where I was. When I was in New York. I was walking down the street and there was all these little boutiques, and I'm like, I wish I could come and shop here without having to come and shop here. It'd be pretty cool. I like shopping in I like shopping. And my wife doesn't like shopping as much. I love shopping. And I'm kind of the girl in our relationship in that regard, and that's okay. I'm totally comfortable with it. But it'd be really fun to be able to say, I want to cruise down a street of New York and see all the stores that are next to each other. And I think you could come up with a little website that's like, here's Rodeo Drive, here's the stores in their order, and then if you want to shop somewhere but you're not there, you want to learn about a little boutique that's online, like this little jewelry store that I was at called Doyle & Doyle. Never heard of it before. Bought my wife some cool antique earrings. I was like, I wish I could shop at places like this so it doesn't look like, I don't like having everything that everyone else has. I like to be different. It's kind of fun. I don't want to pay a lot more money for it, but I just wish I could find those kind of things. Opportunity to build a little business there. So anyway, you get the point. Okay, I think this one is PG. So I know it seems intimidating to start a business, and I know that's why most people actually don't actually start the business. They talk about it forever. I think the only reason I wasn't more scared is that I didn't think about it very long. All this next thing you know, we were in business. I think this is, let's see. What did you say, Nicole? Escape. Flash. Hopefully this works. This is about the little guy being able to fight and win. Little people.
5 or 6 great starts here. I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. It's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Great. Can we hear it?
I'll start with the cover. Picture this. You got,
Yeah! I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it.
Buddy, not now. Can you please go back to the pit? I'll come visit you in a little while, okay?
I didn't know you had elves working here.
boy, you're hilarious, my friend.
He doesn't. Get back to the story, please.
So, on the cover above the title.
Does Santa know that you left the workshop?
We're all laughing our heads off.
Did you have to borrow a reindeer to get down here?
Buddy, go back to the basement.
Hey, Jack Reed, I get more action in a week than you've had your entire life. I've got houses in L.A., Paris, and Vail.
Oh.
Each one of them with a 70-inch plasma screen. So I suggest you wipe that stupid smile off your face before I come over there and smack it off. You feeling strong, my friend? Call me Elf one more time.
He's an angry elf. Look at you! Ow! Hey, look at that! I wasn't ready for that.
Call me Elf one more time. Call me Elf.
You're an elf.
We definitely use that to inspire us at Omniture. We're fighting against Google right now, so we need all the inspiration we can get. But I think it is important just to remember, it's one lesson that I've learned time and time again, and I'm unfortunately probably gonna have to learn it again in my life because I can't seem to figure this one out. But there's been probably 10 different times that I've said, I told myself I wasn't gonna have to learn that lesson again, and that lesson is, you sit there and you look at people that seems like they're really successful, and then you get to there and you're intimidated by maybe where they are, the size of business that they have, and then you get to that exact same position, and you're like, they didn't have a clue what they were doing. And I find myself doing that over and over. I remember when we were first starting, I'd hear about businesses that were on the Inc. 500, and I was like, oh, that'd be the coolest thing in the world to be on the Inc. 500. And we really wanted to be on the Inc. 500. It was definitely a goal. And we got there, and I was like, I thought we would know more about like what we're supposed to do when we're on the Inc. 500, and we still were just figuring things out. And then you meet somebody that has a public company, and kind of same thing. I'm like, wow, they must be really sophisticated, and they must have like all their ducks in a row, and bet you the internal operations of their company are just awesome, and they probably have all these really organized meetings like you see on TV, and they're probably really good at following up on things, and there's probably not little backbiting like you see in little startups sometimes. And you get there and you're like, nah, same thing. You meet someone that's got a ton of money that's flying around on jets, and you figure you're really intimidated by them, and same thing. You learn that lesson over and over and over again. And I think that's also an important lesson for if you're thinking about starting a business or if you've got one going. I always say just think as big as you possibly can, because someone's going to be standing at the top of the hill, so why not you? So as for how Omniture evolved, we do have a little fascination with little people. We try to be supportive of their community. We for some reason it's a tradition to bring them out to Halloween. If anybody here's heard about our Halloween bashes, but we do have a lot of fun. We try to work hard, play hard, and our culture at Omniture is definitely work hard, play hard, and we like to think that we know what we're doing. We do work really hard. We are the best in our business, and it's because we have absolutely fantastic people. We have a ton of people out of BYU, and they're really smart people, and they work really hard, and they're becoming experts in their fields, and I think all have beginnings of great careers. But it's been really fun to be out there, and even though we're here in Utah, we're working with the likes of American Express and Oracle and General Motors and Google and Yahoo, and to be able to really hold our own with the engineers that we have from the state, and with all the consultants that we have here from the state, and a lot of the VPs that we have that have grown up in our company. It's just been a lot of fun. And the way that we started out in '97. We were just making websites, and started out I mentioned just doing consulting. Right, we charged $60 an hour, and we felt like it was highway robbery to get away with $60 an hour, because I just got done getting paid $12 an hour for going through Walmart parking lots with a leaf blower and blowing the parking lot clean. And I got paid $12 an hour because I was willing to stay up all night. And my co-founder was getting paid $7 an hour working down at the RB computer lab. And so $60 an hour felt like highway robbery. And then we quickly realized that we should be charging a lot more than that, and people probably discounted the quality if we were only charging $60. So we inched it up to $75, got it to $90, and then within $6 we were telling everybody it was $125 an hour. And that's when I retired from school. Sitting in advanced finance 401, never forget it. Talking about subchapter S corps and the difference between LLCs and C corps, and I looked down at my watch. I'm like, that was $125. I can't do it anymore. And I figured it was just a means to an end, right? And we were close enough to being able to. If we had to come back to school and finish, then I figured I was within a semester and I could support my family. I had to take advantage of the opportunity that we had. The next thing we did, we were trying to make websites. People wanted analytics, and so we started finding companies out there that had analytics and message boards and those sorts of things, and created a database and a list of them all, and created this little website called Script Search. And we paid someone $12,000, and we could have done it ourselves. It probably took about whatever $12,000 is divided by $8 an hour. That's how many hours we put into building that, and it was just a database. And we ended up selling it for $200,000 about 6 months later. So again, we didn't know what we were doing. We just started putting some work out there, threw it up on the web, and then we started getting some advertising, a really targeted audience, sold for $200,000. Taught us a bunch of lessons, but it was still too hard. You had to be a developer to actually use that stuff. And so then we built mycomputer.com, went after small businesses. It was really hard hosting stuff. You had to FTP, and the word FTP acronyms making my head hurt. So we started JService, and it was a total dud because other people were doing it way better than we were. We weren't technical enough, and we weren't devoted enough to the business. And then we got into analytics finally. We started out as ad-supported, loser business. And we took us 3 years to figure that out. Then we went after small businesses, charged them $10, $20, $30 a month, and built another that was the second $4 million business that we built. The ad-supported one, we got it to $4 million business. The small business, same thing, got it to $4 million, and then realized that we were losing 800 customers a month and getting 1,200 new ones a month. So netting 400. Made us very nervous, the fact that we were losing 800. And so we started going after enterprises because eBay was a customer and CNET was a customer. And they called me in the same week and said, we love paying you this money and we love being customers. And so at that point, in 2001, we started focusing on enterprise businesses. Did $1 million, $3 million, $8 million, $20 million, 40, 140, and this year approximately 300. And we hope that we can become one of only 20 companies. There's only been 20 companies that are software companies that have made it to $1 billion in revenue in the history of software. So we're hoping that we can become one of those. But, you know, we continue to evolve. So, I mean, evolution is really kind of a big component of it. And then kind of lastly, yeah, money is a really important metric. And we all get caught up in it. And when you feel like your business is just starting, it's definitely life or death. Life or death. I said like a hip-hop video. Life or death. I think one thing that's really important up here is the quote, "A truly rich man is one whose children runs into his arms when his hands are empty." And you can't lose sight of that. You know, money's just a metric. And it's an important metric, and it's one we all have to use. We have to provide for our families. But it's just a metric. And there's a lot of other things that are way more important, and you don't want to lose sight of those. You know, you're going to get to the end and not be very pleased with yourself. So I will kind of leave that with you guys and open it up for questions for the last few minutes. Yeah.
When you first started it, what was your vision of how far it was going to go? I mean, I know obviously you're just kind of like...
We thought we were going to be huge. Always. I didn't know what, but I always thought we'd be huge. Again, because I sit in these classes, and I'm sure, hopefully there's a lot of people sitting in this class today like, you know what, I can pull off what that guy's doing. And I thought that. And I'm like, if those guys can do it, then we can do it. And then you get a chance and you meet somebody in business, and you're like, these people don't have the most impressive team here. We can do this, you know. And a lot of it's luck and good fortune and being in the right place at the right time and working hard enough so that you are in the right place at the right time. But we always thought we'd be successful by hook or crook, one way or another, and we didn't care how many failures we had along the way. We just knew if we kept at it, we'd be successful. That was our belief. Yeah. Are we doing software to do analytics on iPhone apps? Yes. Yes, we are. Good question. We're debating right now whether or not we should give it away for free and just really try to own mobile. We're going after mobile in a big way. Big way. We're not as far along as we should be, but... Hi. How much do Google Ads cost? Put them on your... Yeah, so what you do is you go out there, I wouldn't advertise at first, actually. I would just, if you have a lot of content, you can put their ads on your site and get paid for those ads on your website. So if you're blogging about mobile phones, for instance, and you're doing reviews about the iPhone versus the G phone versus the BlackBerry Bold, there's going to be a lot of people that come and read that blog. And if you do that, BlackBerry and iPhone and maybe Nokia are going to be willing to advertise on anybody that's reading that content. And then they'll pay Google $100. Google will pay you $60 and pocket $40. So it's just kind of a way to get a little business going. I know a lot of people that are running several $100,000 businesses just by blogging. Yeah. That's a great question. We went after the overseas market very early on. I think one thing that's cool about Utah is there's, you know, at least half the Utahns are not from Utah. I'm from Chicago. And then you have this big group of missionaries that goes out all over the place. I think we have a globally minded community. And so we went to Japan and we went to Europe at the very beginning. It took us London, we started getting business day one, right when we hired somebody. Japan, it took us about 2 years to really get things figured out with all the different characters and double bite challenges that you have. But we now have over 25% of our business, I think 28% of our business as of last quarter is now from international. And it's growing fast. Last question.
Have you ever regretted not finishing school?
Have I regretted? No, I haven't at all. You know, I don't think it's smart to quit school until you're close enough to the end that you know. I mean, I learned a ton from my class. I mean, the class I have left, like health and fitness. I think I have to take an organizational behavior class. You know, some classes that I'm sure are valuable to some people, I just weren't prioritized for me. But you know, the fact that I was close enough. I mean, you have to provide for your family, and I felt like if things blew up, I could come back, live on credit cards for 6 months if I was that desperate, or have my dad pay for me so I could get my degree. And at that point, I felt like the risk reward was definitely well worth it because I wanted to jump on that opportunity. The web was moving fast. So, thanks for you guys' time. Good chat with all.